Today's shir is being sponsored by Lilu Nishmas Rus Zissel Bas Yitzchok Aleha Shalom. I have a nice email from the sponsor. This sponsor is Mendel Mitz. Mitz. M-I-T-Z. Why the name Mitz, you ask? We're going to have an explanation. Mitz means juice. But that's not why. Very interesting story. But what's very exciting about Mendel is that he's from Argentina. And he's representing us in the Siyum in Argentina, one of our exotic locations. Dear Rebelli, I'd like to sponsor today's shir in memory of my aunt who passed away 21 years ago at the young age of 42 after battling a long illness. May Neshama have an aliyah, Rus Zissel Bas Rabbi Yitzchok. I'm not sure if you remember where I am, but I reached out to sponsor shir a couple months back when I noticed there was a day without a sponsor, so yishkoyach for that, yishkoyach for today. I've been watching your shir every day on YouTube. I'm aware that your full daf shir as well as the 8 minutes are on other portals, that you reach thousands of people daily, but I would like to congratulate you for recently reaching 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, as this is a number that everyone can see. So yeah, it's a big occasion. 3,000 subscribers is amazing, amazing. Yesterday we were 2,999, and today we're like 3,008. So Baruch Hashem, growing. And yeah, like if you look at brachas and Shabbos, all the way until we signed up with Torah Anytime, we had approximately 1,000 views on YouTube a day. And then once Torah Anytime came along, and we're very happy about it because we prefer that people watch through Torah Anytime. So the numbers dropped drastically. We're in the 700 range a day. But Baruch Hashem, don't forget, we have an app. Many people are watching this year on the app. There's other features there. So yeah, all daf, the app, our website. So yishkoyach, yeah, 3,000, thanks. As I explained to you when I wrote to you last time, I believe that I'm the only participant in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And there aren't many people that speak English over here. I'm yet to hear of someone who has heard of your shir in Argentina. I would be more than happy to be the solo Siyum host and unique representative from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Even if there were some people whom I knew that could watch, they wouldn't be able to come over to my house now, as we're still in quarantine due to the fact that the number of new cases per day is currently high, and they are unfortunately continuing to increase daily. So, this is a very good point. Many people are concerned about the quarantine and COVID and all that. Don't worry about it. If you can't have people, you can't have people. If it's just you, that's also great. The point is to represent the location, and the real point is to be Meifetz Torah. Let other people know in your location that this is happening. A buzz. If they could come over, they'll see the chevra, and that's one of the main things here. The chevra, the camaraderie. So you guys in Borough Park, don't just invite other people. Show them what it's all about. Finally, to finish off, and that you can identify and hopefully remember who I am. I'll attach a picture of myself, learning the daf while I was listening to watching the shir, and I love that. I love when people do that. Send me their pictures, it's gewaldic. Here's Reb Mendel. Mitz from Argentina. No Mesifta, no art scroll, straight out of the Gemara, like a true gronik. Why do I say gronik? He looks a shtickle not gra. But it says over here that he's a gronik, I believe. I don't know if he's a gronik, but he comes from Mishpachas Hagra. It's M-I-T-Z, not Mintz or Metz. Mitz. This is indeed very unique. His great-grandfather, Rabbi Yulei, was a Rav in Vilna, the Beis HaTfos. They printed many Svarim and the Shulchan Aruch, and B'kitzur, he's from the Gra. And then he says like this, when they left, they had to run away from Vilna, so the guy looks at his name, they didn't have a name, it says Moira Tzedek. He was in the Bezdin, and it had 2 apostrophes, so he thought it's a Yud, so he called him Mitz, and he wrote M-I-T-Z in English, and the name stuck. So very good. So they had to move to England, and now he is in Argentina, and looking forward to finishing Shabbos with you and the whole MDY all the MDY participants, as well as the other Mesayim Klal Yisrael around the world. Maybe Zoich the Mesayim, many Mesachtas together. Amen. Keep up the great work, Eli, and please give a shout out to the entire MDY team. 3 pumped muscles, whatever that is, right here. You guys know what that is. Yours sincerely, Mendel Mitz, originally from London, England. Vilna, currently in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Now, just a quick update. So yesterday, Baruch Hashem, we were at 65 locations, which is mind-boggling. And today, yeah.
You have another sponsor? You were messaged?
Nope, not that I saw. I mean.
Harry Shalom.
Oh, really? Harry Shalom. Okay. I love the last second. Let me see who messaged. Oh, 1:46 a.m. it was sent to me. I should have seen this. Okay, Yosef Bilyak is working at 1:46. Rabbi said at 1:46 a.m. to Yosef Bilyak. Kol hakavod. In honor of all the wives of MDY crew who selflessly share their husband with the world so they can teach and spread Torah. P.S. In honor of Rabbi Yosef Bilyak's wife's birthday. So happy birthday. Great way to spend the birthday with the wife, being up at 1:46 in the morning, working on the daf. From Harry Shalom, Yishkoich Reb Harry Shalom. So, in Ranana, Simon Cohen, the famous Chazan, Reb Simon Cohen, who's on every single day. Again, there's a COVID concern in Ranana, so future details will emerge. Miami, Michael Benchitrit. How do you pronounce it? Benchitrit, something like that, right? In Gateshead, Akiva Rosenbaum. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Jeff Rosenberg. London, Joel Silberstein. Toronto and Thornhill, Charlie Zolti and Mayor Planka. New Square, this is a great one. New Square, a real Haimish Hasidish Yid who gives, he's a Magid Shir, Daf Yomi Magid Shir, who has the charts in Yiddish. So he agreed to represent New Square, David Brewer. Milan, Italy, Avram, he goes by Avram. And Malaga, Spain, don't forget our great friend from Spain, Jacob Malka, the guy that showed us he had a boy and a bris, and he named his baby Daf Yomi, the 8-minute daf, something like that, whatever. No, I just made that. All right, so so we're over 70 locations, Rabbi sites, unbelievable, really unbelievable. It's, and also I got to tell you, it's really heartwarming. Last night, I knock on my door, and Yeshua gives me this giant box, I couldn't lift it, with over $500 worth of svarim that Yossi Klein from Muncie gave me as a present. Basically, svarim for the shir, to prepare the shir for the coming Mesechtes, Eruvin and Psachim. Beautiful, beautiful gift. Yishkoyach Reb Yossi. The same day, David Address gave us a song that he wrote and produced with a video. We'll show it after the 9 days. And the day before, Leon Welcher produced a beautiful 22-minute video about the shir, which also will probably show, not probably, we will show during the Siyum. All right. Zok Tehele Gemar. Today is Daf Kuf Lametes. Wow, time flies. That was a very long email. Sorry, guys. Where are we? We're holding top of Kuf Lametes on the top. One line in. Tanya Rabbi Yossi ben Elisha Omer. Imro Isa Dor. So we have a Amud of Agadata now, sort of. Imro Isa Dor Shetzaris Rabbis Ba'isalav. If you see a generation with this tsaris, this corona, there's all sorts of tsaris. Tzeyu b'doik b'dayanu Yisrael. You got to check the dayanim. Shekol puranu sheba la'olam le'ba ele b'shvil dayanu Yisrael. Dayanim, they cause a lot of problems in Klal Yisrael when they are corrupt. Shenemar Shimon Ozois Roshei Beis Yaakov, the heads of the household of Yaakov, Uktzine Beis Yisrael, Hamisav Mishpat, they detest judgment. Veis Kol Hayishara Yakeshu, they twist anything straight. Boinet Tzion Bedamim, they build Tzion Yerushalayim with blood of Yerushalayim ba'avla, with an avla. I don't know how you say avla in English. Ra'ashel be'shoichad yishpoitu, So their heads, they take shoicha, they take bribes. V'chayanel, and the chayanim, the priest, b'mechir yoru. They'll give you give them the right amount of money, and they'll give you a halacha. Univiyel b'chesev yiksoimu, and the prophets. You go to Makubal, depends how much money you give him. If you give him the right amount of money, he'll say you'll live, you'll die. You could, not so much a mishpat, but in terms of, like we had in Brachas, Bar Hedya. Rava didn't pay him, so he got a bad challah in Pisroin. You pay him nicely, you're going to live, you're going to die. Whatever he decides, it depends on the money. This is terrible. Va'al Hashem yisho'enu. We see this, unfortunately. It's all with the amasla. I'm from. I'm doing the right thing. If you're from, you could do whatever you want to do. Kilu chas v'shalom. V'al Hashem yisho'enu. They lean on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's always a teretz, a frum teretz. Like I did this and that because he deserved it. Crazy. He doesn't wear the right clothing, so Mela I had a paskin against him, so he should learn his lesson. Whatever it is. V'al Hashem yisho'enu. The worst is, you want to be a Russia, be a Russia. Don't blame it on Kodesh Baruch Hu and on frumkeit. Rishayim hein el shetalu b'tchaynam b'misha omar v'hoya ha'olam. They're Rishayim, but all of a sudden they become real frum. That you could bomb the Twin Towers, you could do whatever and say it's the name of Allah, whatever. You could do whatever. People do things like that. Lefichach maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu aleim gimel paranios. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's three things here. You have the Shoftim, the Kohanim, and the Nevi'im. So there's three Puranios. You have to understand. The Maharal goes into how the Midah Keneged Midah is. I'm sure Rabbi Pessin in his Sefer, I'm not sure which Chelik it is. He has already 4 or 5 giant Svarim. Midah Keneged Midah. Keneged Gimel Aver Shebiyadam. Shenemar. Lochein Biglalchem Tzion Sadet Echarish. Tzion, the field where the Maharal explains the Sanhedrin have to move, so that's the einish. The Sanhedrin are going to go. Yerushalayim Ian Tia. Ian is churvos. It's going to be a shmama. In other words, that's where the Torah comes from. The Makara Torah Yerushalayim. It's going to be desolate. Varabayis, the Makar of Nevuah, Levamas Yar, will be destroyed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not going to bring a Shechina. Right now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in Hester. We don't have the Shechina between us. Why? We need to get rid of we can get rid of all these bad dayanim and police officers, the ones that take care of Klal Yisrael, the bad ones. Got to get rid of them. Then the Shechina could come. Shenemar v'ashiva yodai elayich. This is for 10,000 points. When do we say this pasuk? Shenemar v'ashiva yodai alayich ve'etzroif kaboir sigoyich. I'm going to turn my hand away from you, and I'm going to get rid of the unwanted stuff, the unwanted material, sigoyich. V'asira kol b'diloyich, and I'll get rid of like the material that doesn't belong there. V'ashiva sheiftayich k'v'rishona, and I'm going to return the shoftim, like in the good old days, v'yotzayich k'vatchila, omar ulo, ein Yerushalayim nivda ela b'tzdaka. Yerushalayim won't be redeemed, it won't come back unless we give tzedakah, charity. Shenemar tzion b'mishpat tipada, v'shoveha b'tzedakah. That's this week's Haftarah. So these psukim are in this week's Haftarah. And this is the last pasuk in the Haftarah. Tzion b'mishpat tipada. It's mamish like in Yonah the Yoma, the 9 days, the galos that we had from Beis Hamikdash, the Churban from Yerushalayim. Unbelievable. Very matim for the second day of Tzion b'mishpat tipada v'shoveha b'tzedakah. We're going to come back. It's a little bit hard to understand in the pasuk. It says Tzion b'mishpat tipada. The whole Yerushalayim is coming back b'mishpat v'shoveha b'tzedakah. In other words, we are going to return to Yerushalayim because of tzedakah. Yerushalayim itself is going to become rebuilt because of the mishpat. Amar Papa. Ibatli Yehiri, if Balei will be gone, Batli Amgushi. Now what's a Balgaiva? Says Rashi, terrible. Noam, you don't have to worry about this one. Ibatli hiri, if you have a blorit, if you have a big chup on your head, then you're a Bal Gaiva. Batli am gushi. He gets it now. Now he's laughing. Okay, good.
You do have a...
I have a shtickle Gaiva problem. Small Gaiva problem. Badly am gushi. Ay. So these guys that try to corrupt you, the missionaries, that try to persuade us to do Avodah Zarah, they'll be gone. If we don't have the Gaiva, they'll be gone. They're there because of our Gaiva. Ibatli dayone, if we get rid of these bribe-taking dayanim, batli, gizir pate, these are physical guys that beat people up to do, they're the Avodah Zarah that beat the Jews. Ibatli hiri batli amgushe, how do you know that if there's no Gaiva? By the way, we're holding smack in the middle of the page, like by where Tosfos Rav Amram is, right opposite that Tosfos is where we're holding. So the Gemara learns Sigoyach is a lashon of great, of largeness. So if you're large, that's what's going to happen. Batli dayane batli gzirpate d'chsiv heiser Hashem mishpotayich pina oiveich. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu get rid of the mishpotayich, the bad judges, then he'll clear out the enemy. Omar Rebbe Melai. So now we have a 3 Rebbe Melais, and one of them is his son, and that's it for the rest of Shas. Omar Rebbe Melai, Mishum Rebbe Lezer Rebbe Shimon, Maidechsiv Shovar Hashem Mati Rishayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will break the stick, the staff of the Rishayim, Shevet Moishlim, the rulers, again, staff, rod, stick. Shovar Hashem Mati Rishayim Elu Hadayolim Shenasu Makil Chazuneim. So what's going on here is like this. Every court has, the guy that takes care of the court. He runs after people. He's the chazan. They call him the chazan, the court officer. So the judge enables this court officer to be a bad guy, to go after people wrongly, to say, you want me to go after Reuven? Yes, there's a judgment against the guy you went to court with, Reuven. If you give me $1,000, I'll go after him. You don't give me money, forget about it. Or he'll delay the judgment, whatever it is. He plays around with people, depending how much money you give him. But that's all because the judge is corrupt as well. These are the judges, shenasu makil chazinem. They're the staff to the chazan. They're the backbone. Shevet moishlim elu tamid chachamim shebemishpachos dayanim. So Talmid Chacham, he knows the rules, he knows halacha, and what does he do? When his relative is a bad judge, he goes ahead and he helps him out. He tells people, no, he's right, halachically. He starts schlepping Rishayim and Achroidim. He makes shtiklach Torah to get his corrupt relative who doesn't know how to learn out of trouble. Andrew Glatz, Ishkoyach for being on. It's great to see you. Mom, up, down. Remember, there's big tsaris last time. Still bad. There's a big siyum in Chicago. Don't forget. You got to speak to Benzi Friedman.
We're davening for Andrew's mom.
You are?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Shkoyach Avi. I had a lot of questions about the hat. Do you want the hat back? Why did I take it for you from so long? Maybe that's why you don't wear a hat anymore. That hat caused a lot of issues yesterday. So the Talmid Chachamim, says Rashi, that take Amaratziv, make them judges, and they're relying on the fact that one day, when this Bur Amaretz has a question, Allah will come ask him. But that doesn't happen. You put the guy in charge, all of a sudden he thinks he knows what he's doing, and therefore there won't be the proper judgment. Omer Rebbe Eliezer ben Milai, Rebbe Eliezer the son of ben Milai. Meshur Mishlakish, Shmei Dechsiv, Kicha peichem nigoyalu v'adam. Your hands are full of blood. V'etzboiseichem ba'avan, and your fingers in sin. Sifsoiseichem dibru sheker, your lips spoke Sheker, lies. L'shoinchem avlo tehege. Your tongue spoke wickedness. When you take bribes, you're killing people. You're literally killing people. You take away their parnasa, that's destroying them. That's killing. That's why he's saying you don't have to murder somebody. You could kill somebody by taking money wrongfully. Taking from Ruvain. When you know that Ruvain doesn't have to pay, you take the money and give it to Shimon. That's killing him. That's why these are the court reporters who write the wrong thing for the right amount of money, for the right price. The guys from Chicago know what I'm talking about. Your lips, I'm not talking about the frum community, I'm talking about the corruption that goes on over there. In Hebrew it's called the Arach Din, a lawyer, literally lawyers. When I was in Passaic, I was probably 17 years old. I had a great Maisa, not enough time to say the whole Maisa, but basically I was traveling all the time from Brooklyn to Passaic, and I used to go by bus. So I had to go through the Port Authority of New York. It's a crazy place. Hundreds of buses, and it's a massive structure, massive. On 42nd Street, wherever it was back then. I'm going through this place late at night, Motzei Shabbos. And I was in a very quiet area going up to the bus where I thought that my bus was always, it's a long, long escalator. I don't remember, like 72 stairs, 172, I counted it, I forgot. Narrow and huge, like you've never seen an escalator like this. Take you up 5 flights, you know? And this guy, this homeless dude is following me the whole time, but I wasn't worried. I looked at him, I said, I could take this guy. So anyways, we go up the escalator, and he says, yo, give me your money. I'm like, what are you talking about? Get out of here. And he starts grabbing me, and then choking him, punching him. He doesn't care, he's just going for the money. He got my money, he got $80, and he turned to run. I gave him a good kick, and went flying down the escalator backwards. And every stair that he hit his head on, he screamed, ah, ah, ah. He got to the bottom of the escalator, he got up as nothing happened, and ran away. So I reported him. I reported the incident. I didn't have money. I didn't have my ticket to get on a bus. I had ripped pants. I have to go to the police station. There's a police station in Port Authority. That's how much crime they have there. I filed a report, but then I wouldn't give up. Anytime I had a chance to go to Port Authority for the next month, I went and looked for this guy. I figured he's there. And I finally caught the guy. I bring the cops. They arrest him. They looked at my report. They found it. And we go to court. But before we go to court, this prosecutor, New York guy, says, tell me the story. I tell him how I beat him up and I threw him down the escalator. He says, that's not what happened. What happened was he robbed you, he hit you, he this. Everything you did to him is not necessary for the story. So when you tell the, it was a panel, what do you call them? A jury. It was like some sort of jury. I don't know why. I had to say the story in front of 20 people, 12, I don't even remember the number. Don't say this. So I didn't say it. I said he hit me and he grabbed my money and That's this Arach Din. Well, I didn't lie. I just omitted a half of the story, and he ended up in jail for a long time, this guy. Anybody that went to Passaic with me remembers the story. A lot of Bachram came with me. It was a great time. Anyway, so it says like this, Elu Orchei Dayanim, these lawyers, you hear Avi? These lawyers, they teach their clients how to lie, how to say the wrong thing. They train them how to say it. No, literally. They sat me and said, okay, say it like this and do it like that. And when they ask you this, you have to answer that. So, you can't lie in a din. You can't teach other people to lie in a din. There has to be yashrus. And when there's no yashrus in the din of Torah, all these terrible things happen in Klal Yisrael. And that's how the sugya started. All our puranas, everything wrong that we have today is based on what goes on in our court system, in the way the Dayanim treat people, etc., etc. Amazing. From the day that Yosef was separated from his brothers, he refrained from drinking wine, which was huge in those days. It wasn't like people drink it every day. D'chsiv ulekakoid Nazir echav. It says Nazir, lashon of Nazirus. He was a Nazir for all those years. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina Amar, Afein lo yitamu tam yayin. Even the Shvatim didn't drink wine. D'chsiv vayishtu vayishkuru imay. So it seems like that was the first time that they got drunk. They drank and got drunk. Michlal da'ad ha'idna loy. Until that point, they didn't drink. V'idach shichrusu d'lei hava shtiya hava. So there's a machlokes here. Rabbi Malai says that the brothers drank as much as they wanted. They got drunk, they drank. Look, but the other man says, so, sorry. Rabbi Malai says they drank, they didn't get drunk. And the other man says they never drank. They refrained from drinking, so Yosef never drank, the Shvatim never drank. And Rabbi Malai says, no, they did drink. Only Yosef refrained completely, but they never drank to the point of getting drunk. The famous Moshe Rabbeinu was concerned that Aaron HaKohen will be jealous, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, he's going to see you, and he'll be happy within his own heart. He's not even going to say anything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu assured him that don't worry about it. Aaron HaKohen will be very happy with your achievements, and therefore, Zacha l'Choshen HaMishpat, Aaron HaKohen, the Kohen Gadol wears the Choshen Mishpat, the Urim V'Tumim, where Ali Boy, on the same place, Mida Keneged Mida, the same place that he thought about not being jealous and being happy for his brother, that's where he got awarded with the Choshen. Shochalei B'nei Bashkar LeLevi, the people from the city of Bashkar, they sent to Levi. Kilamau, are you allowed to open up or build a canopy on Shabbos like we had the sugi yesterday? Kishusa b'kar mamau. Kishusa are hops. But if you look closely here, they grow from here upwards. It's a very tall plant. So the question is, are these hops, are they a vegetable? And therefore you cannot plant them in a vineyard? Or it's considered a tree? And therefore it's not an issue to plant. Meis b'yantav mao, what about digging a grave for the dead on yantav? Chayresh, boina, whatever it is. I would say more chayresh. Ad the ozil noch nafshi de Levi. Until they reached Levi, Levi was gone. He was nifter. Omar Shmuel Rab Menashe, so Shmuel tells Rab Menashe, Chakim es shlachlu. If you're very smart, you answer all three questions. Shalach lahu. So he answers them. Kilo chazarno kol tzidei kilo. We went back and forth on the whole sugya. We can't come up with any kila that's mutter. So that's the code word. Why don't they just say Romi Bar Yecheskel? What's Romi Bar Yecheskel? This case from yesterday, when it has a drawstring on top and you could just pull it and it's moisiv oil, it's made to be like that. Why don't you just say that? Yesterday we said that's 100% mutter. It's not a issa de rabbanan even. Lefi she'ina b'nei Torah. So we have the idea, the concept that if people are not very learned and you give them a heter, they'll start taking this heter to other places where they shouldn't be going. It's better just to cut them off and say everything is us or finished. No more, they shouldn't be lumdiving around or lumdishing around. Kishusa b'karma, and to plant hops in a vineyard, irbuvya, 100% aser. Aser is klei b'karma. As the Gemara of Elish Lachluke, the Rebbe Tarfon, why don't he just say, Rebbe Tarfon says it's mutter, the Sanya Kishos, Rebbe Tarfon Oimer, and Kalayim Bakerem. In Eretz Yisrael, there's no Kalay Kerem with hops. I don't consider it vegetable, I consider it a tree. The Chomayim Kalayim Bakerem. V'kayim Alon, and the halach is, Kalayim Mekel Baretz, halach Kamayim B'chutzlars. They're asking the question in Bavel, in Chutzlars. So since this is a man in Eretz Yisrael, who's Mekel, we should go like him when it comes to Bavel, like Rebbe Tarfon and Bavel. Lefi she'ena b'nei Torah. Once again, they're not learned. We can't give them too many Torah. Machriz Rav, hay man de boy lemizrak shusa b'char. So if Rabbi say a lot of people are upset, why Chacham give us all these restrictions? Because we're a bunch of Amaratzim. If we become learned people, the restrictions are removed. In fact, we'll see an unbelievable story soon about a guy that's a Talmud Chacham who did crazy stuff. You would think that he's a shegitz, but because he's a Talmud Chacham, they allowed him to do it. Rav Amrim Chasido Menagid Levei. Sorry. Machriz Rab, by the way, nobody can make a siyum on Masechet Shabbos. I believe that I skipped a line yesterday. It was in this sugya, one of the four, I think. I don't know for a fact. Nobody corrected me, and the whole day yesterday was driving me crazy. I didn't look it up. And today I got an email. Rabbi Stefansky, I think you missed something. And I think he didn't even say what it was. But I think that's what because as I was learning it, and I said this year last night, and I was like, I don't remember saying these words. But basically, the Gemara says that if this fabric comes down one tefach, did I say this yesterday? I had a red line yesterday. If it comes down one tefach, it's a problem because it creates a mechitza down here of a tefach. I don't think I said it. So go back and read that line, otherwise you can't make a siyum. So Machras Rav, Hayman de Boile Mizra Kshusa B'Karmel Izra. You don't have to worry about it in Bavel. You could plant hops like Reb Tarfon. Reb Amram Chasidim and Agade Lovei. And Reb Amram said, I'm giving Malchus whoever does it. So he explains Taisvus. Why? Because he lived in a city that is not B'nai Torah. Again, Amaratzim. Reb Misharisha Yavle Pruta Latinoik Nochri Vizarle. Reb Misharisha gave a small coin to a goyish kid, and he planted. Over here, I wanted to say the beautiful story from Daddy Kornbluth in England about giving a pruta to a guy. We're going to move on. We'll have to say it a different time. So why do you hire a guy? Give it to a Jew. Us in the Mizrach, that Jewish kid will think that's mutter to plant, and he'll continue doing it when he's big, when he's a gadol. So give it to a guy that's an adult. That also will come to switch it out with a Jew. So we went two steps away. A guy and a minor. Meis. What about a dead person? You bury him on Yantif. If you have a dead, you cannot deal with him. Not the Jews and not the non-Jews. Even the second day of Yantif. Omar Rab Asi, by the way, Taisus points out here halacha that's somewhat negate to us, that you give the wine on Yom Kippur, but it's also Tisha B'Av. You give it to a Jew to drink. It goes into a kid to drink. Why is that different? It's only once a year. It goes into that. There was a story, and now we're turning the daf, sponsored by Anonymous. I think I didn't check it up. I think official catering, his sponsorship is up. You know what? We'll give him one free day. Sponsored by from official catering, not by Anonymous. Pushing Anonymous off because we don't have one. So we don't know if this person died right before Yontif and is going to go into a 2-day Yontif, and we better bury. It's right before Shabbos. It's going to be 2 days, or it was right after Shabbos. The bottom line is there's 2 days here. Either you're anticipating it, or it already happened. Va'asu l'kamei der Rabbi Yochanan. V'amar lehu yisasku be'amamim. So Rabbi Yochanan says when it comes to kavod habriyos, you have the dead laying here, and it's going to get a little smelly. So we allowed the Isser the Rabbanon of Amir L'Nachri, we allowed that in this situation. So you're allowed to tell a guy, please bury the dead. If it's the first day of Yontif, but Rashi says something very interesting. It's the first day of Yontif, but the first day of Yontif fell out on Sunday. So it's already the second day for this mace. Yisasku by Amamim, then the guy deals with it. B'Yontif Sheni, if he died on Shabbos and now the second day is after Shabbos, Yisasku by Yisrael, then the Jew could deal with it. V'afilu b'Yontif Sheni shur Rosh Hashanah, even on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, which is stronger than the second day of Pesach and Sukkot, Masha'en came bebeitza. When it comes to an egg, the second day of Rosh Hashanah is different than a beitza shenolda b'Yontif. If it was born on the first day of Yontif, let's say Pesach, you're allowed to eat it on the second day of Pesach. If it was born on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, you can't eat it on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. Over here, we're matter the second day of Rosh Hashanah to bury the dead. So the question is, so how come we didn't pass him? We said, no. You have the dead, no burying dead, nothing. But we just said you could, second day, different things. Again, Lefi Sheinu B'nei Torah, we don't go into any details with them and giving them a Teirim, because before you know it, they'll start burying them on the first day of Yontif. They can't hold cup of what you just told them and what the halacha is. They'll go in the direction you don't want it to go, so you just give them one halacha. No burying the dead on Yontif. Omer Rabavim bar Rav Huna, Omer Rav Chama bar Gyuya. Mis'atei v'adam b'kilo, you could take this canopy, this fabric that you put over your bed, and you wear it like a talus. The problem is that it has ubechis koseha. It has like strings, these decorative strings that come out from the bottom, or straps. He doesn't have to be concerned with these straps and strings. Ask the Gemara, why not? Says if you walk out the shul with your talis gadol, and one of the, you're walking out the door, and the tzitzis gets stuck in the door, and you yank it off, and now you're left with 3 tzitzis, not 4. So the halacha is that this beged that you're wearing is a masoi, everything is a masoi, and you're chayev achatos. You're machal Shabbos. You just carried your talis and Rosh Hashanah. Says the Gemara. So why are 3 tzitzis different than strings hanging from the bottom of a kila from a canopy? The 3 tzitzis don't perform a mitzvah. Neither do the strings perform a mitzvah. So these are extra, but these are not. What's going on here? Says the Gemara, tzitzis ligavi talis chashivi v'loy batli. Says Rashi, blue strings matter. So the tcheles part of your tzitzis is so chashiv that it doesn't become batal to the beged, and therefore you're carrying a bunch of tcheles through the Rishus Harabim. That's the problem. Hani loy chashivi ubatli. White strings don't matter, and therefore they become secondary to the beged. And when you're carrying the beged, you're carrying the tzitzis with the strings, the straps with them, and that's not a problem on Shabbos. So we remember from yesterday and the day before the Mishameres. You're put a strainer over your vessel on Shabbos. Now, so we're talking about Yontif. I could do trickery. I look at this misanenes, at the strainer, and I go wink, wink. I put it down on the thing, and I say, I'm not doing it to strain anything. Don't you see? I'm doing it to hold my pomegranates. And once I do that, so I'm not doing uvdin dechol, I'm not performing a malacha that is a weekday malacha that could get me into trouble with a deraisa later on. Then the halacha is, we said, Thailand, then I could actually use the strainer. Once the strainer's up, the whole problem was, according to Rashi, oyalarai. So I got away with the oyalarai because I'm using it for my pomegranates. Now once it's up, I could strain. On Yontif, I'm allowed to strain. Omer Avashi, Vudutala, that's only in the case that you didn't just wink, wink with your eye, but you physically put the pomegranates on the strainer. So now you showed that the strainer is not a strainer, the strainer is just holding my pomegranates. Then I remove my pomegranates and I start straining wine. So it's a little bit of a harama. I could produce beer on Chalamayid for Chalamayid. I cannot produce beer in the middle of Chalamayid for after Yantif. Right? Don't forget, Chalamayid, there's a lot of Isurim. You can't write, you can't do Malacha, there's a lot of things you can't do on Chalamayid. Whether it's difficult to produce, not difficult, even if you have a bunch of beer in your closet, so what you do is a trickery. You have beer, but you drink from the new beer, and you say, look, I need this new beer for Chalamayid. You have barrels of beer that, and in reality, I don't need to make this beer. This beer is really for after Yantav. It's a harama. But there's no concept that I have to put the remainim on top of the strainer. I didn't take any action. I made beer, and when I made beer, everybody knows, or I don't know if they know, but I have old beer. I have enough beer, and I didn't show anything that I'm doing this for after it was produced. I took a drink from it. But while I produced it, there's nothing similar here in the beer like we have in our case where you put the strainer and immediately you put your pomegranates to show that I didn't put the strainer to strain. Says the Gemara, when you put a strainer, immediately you're doing an isser. You're putting a strainer, strainers are to strain. But when you produce beer, there's no isser in producing beer, you're allowed to produce beer. So what's the problem? Because in storage, somewhere else, I have beer. Nobody knows. You have to know what I have in my closet in order to see that what I'm doing right now is isser. What I'm doing right now is not an isser, provided I don't have other beer. But nobody knows about my other beer. So what I'm doing now is not usser unless I have something else. Therefore, I don't have to make any sort of siman right now. Here's the interesting story. Check this out. Look at this Talmud Chacham guy. His name is Rav Huna bar Chiyoin. V'amri lo Rav Huna bar Chilvoin Shmei. Not Chiyoin, Chilvoin, two vavs. Now what? He also does harama. The shakal birod tuma. He takes a clove of garlic. Umanach bebarza dedanon. And he puts it inside the spigot of a barrel. He has a little bit of a leak. He wants to fix the leak on, what is this? On Shabbos. You're not allowed to fix on Shabbos in Misak Yomana. But he says, no, I'm trying to hide my garlic in a safe place, which happens to be inside the spigot. I'm trying to hide it. And another thing he does. You're not allowed to take a boat across a river on Shabbos. But what he does is, he goes into a boat that's just on the shore. He goes in and takes his Shabbos nap, shtickle nap. As he's napping, he doesn't know what's going on. The owner of the boat, the non-Jew, takes him across the river. I was napping. I didn't know it was flying. What is he doing over there? He's making sure that nobody's stealing his fruit. He has to watch his fruit. Now his fruit is on the other side of the river. How does he get there? People are going to steal. The guy, they don't care about Shabbos. They steal. If you're going to steal, you're going to steal on Shabbos too. That's not a problem to sit in your field and watch your fruit on Shabbos. The problem is getting over there, and that's this is the Rabbanon. Now, if that happened to us in our days, we would destroy this guy. We'd throw him out of the shul, etc. He says, I was trying to take a nap. I wasn't doing anything wrong. He's telling me about being trickery. All he's trying to trick is get away from Issa the Rabbanon. Since he's a Talmud Chacham, he's not going to be over. And he's allowed to do trickery to get out of the Rabbanon, an amazing halacha. We would never think about something like that. We'd say the opposite. Since he's a Talmud Chacham, he should be more careful. No, Talmud Chacham, we don't have this gzeira that he's gonna swim, he's gonna do schita, whatever the Yisurim are of going on a boat. Says the Mishnah, on Shabbos, on this, here, right over here, if you look closely, this sediment on top, so you're allowed to pour, pretend this is water, not wine. You're allowed to pour water into the sediment. What are you trying to do? Basically, you're trying to get whatever leftover wine is in the sediment, you will try to get it back into the kli on the bottom. That it should become clear. In other words, get every last drop out of it. You could take and you could sift the wine. So most Rishonim learn here. There's 3 levels of wine. We're talking about the middle level that usually people don't drink, but it's drinkable. It's not the worst of the worst. So if you use something different than typical, use a kfifa mitzvah, like a basket made out of reeds, or some sort of rag, which you typically don't use. So that's a shinoi and you're allowed to do it. We had this case already. You take an egg and you put it into the strainer of the mustard seeds, and the yolk, the yellow, comes out and goes into your mustard seeds, and it gives it a nice color, and the white stays on top, says Rashi. Back then when we learned the sugya, Rashi says the white also comes out of the strainer. Shaila here, why he says it like that. Some learn that it's psoilus mitach psoilus. Let me start from what the typical pshat is. Typical pshat is they're both oichel mitach oichel. The yolk is good, the white is good, so it's not boirer. The Mishnah Berurah, the Bir Halacha brings that it's psoilus mitach. They're both not good. You don't want either of them. They're filthy from the misanen. It's fine. V'oisin anoimelin b'Shabbos, and there's a special wine drink that you can make on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda Omer b'Shabbos because if it's Shabbos you can only make 1 cup worth. B'Yontav b'Login you can make a lug worth, like a bottle worth. B'Mayid b'Chaves, and in Chalamayid you can make a whole barrel. Rabbi Tzadok Omer hakol lefi la'archim. Even on Shabbos, if you had a lot of guests, you can make more. On Yontav maybe you have to make less if you have less guests. Omer Ziri. You could put water, if it's clear water or clear wine, into the strainer on Shabbos, and you don't have to worry about it. You can't put dirty water and dirty. You can't strain water. You can't strain like they had that whole shayla in New York with the worms in the water. You can't strain water on Shabbos and not wine on Shabbos. You're allowed to mix a barrel of wine, all the sediments, all that stuff on the bottom, you mix it up, and then you take, so obviously the sediment means that it's not clear wine, and you take that non-clear wine and you throw it through the sifter, you don't have to worry about it. We're talking about between the wine presses, that's what they drink between the wine presses, and therefore even non-clear, so it's like the in-between wine, drinkable but not drinkable, then that's what you can put through, because in that situation, that time, that's what they drink. So you shouldn't have an indentation in that cloth that you're using, because that's uvdin dechal, that's what you do in the weekday. That's this guy right over here. You can't raise it more than a tefach from the bottom of the kli, because that will make it an oil. Big shaila here. So how do you put a lid, a cover on a pot? Some Rishonim say we're talking about a giant thing. Some say it's not. It's never an issue when it's a pot, or especially if it's narrow on top. Different things here. Omar Rav, hai proinka. Apal de kubo shari. If you're going to cover a barrel of wine, so you're allowed to put this guy halfway. That's not what you do during the week. Akula kuba asr, but to cover the entire thing is asr. In this picture right over here, on the top, don't stuff straw on the mouth of the vessel and then turn it over and use it as a strainer. Can't do that. Mishum de mechzik mishameres, that looks like a strainer. Says the Gemara, the Rav Papa shafu shichro memana lemana. So Rav Papa's household, they would pour wine, beer, from one vessel to another vessel. I did it in red. My mistake. It should have been a different color. Beer. And the sediments that are on the bottom over here is not boirer, because what you're doing is you're taking the clear liquid off the top. But when you get to the bottom, to this part, and you start going really, really slow, to make sure, you know what happens to us? We try to make sure that the sediment stays in the bottle. You try to get only the clear liquid. That's 100% boirer. When you have a lot of it, it happens in a regular bottle of wine. The first few cups goes smoothly, no sediment. But once you get to the bottom, you have to start being careful. You don't want to get that nasty stuff. Let's say the cork breaks up in your bottle. You know what I mean? You don't want to get that stuff in your bottle, in your cup. That's boirer. Says Rav Papa was a beer maker. They didn't care about that stuff at the end. They never got to that point, so it wasn't an issue. Have a wonderful day.
Shem Allah, Ismimana Finger Sif Adonai.
Shema Yisrael, Yitzchak Adonai. Adonai, Shema Adonai. Im Adonai, Shema Yadrimi Amoid.
Kim Chas Lechol Mantiv.
Kim Chas Lechol Mantiv Borei.
Beisyana Kibsana Pshivlego, Halti.
Isa Adonai Kibsana Pshiv Levorei Chalti.
Shivot Naim Shamim Laboiker, Shamim Laboiker.
Shivot Shemrim Laboiker, Shemrim Laboiker.
Chali Shalom Adonai Kibana Yachas Avabay, Noich Tedu.
Echad Yisrael Adonai Kibana Yachas Avabay Mekadus.
Oikei Sam Mikol Banai Sav.
Yehuda Yisrael, Mikol Avon Yisrael. Amen. Shkoyach Rabbi Yisai.
Eli, I thought the translation for missionary in MDY is Yeshua Zeb and Miriam.
You're right. There's good missionaries and there's bad missionaries. What he's trying to say is he converts people to the daf. Love it, love it. Aaron Shields, you heard? Onlay, Michigan.
Only Maryland.
Sorry, only Maryland. That's right. Only Maryland. It's a terrible name. That's a name that they should have in Borough Park. Only Borough Park. No, but
Silver Spring is invited also.
who?
The whole Silver Spring area is invited too.
What area? I didn't hear the word.
Silver Spring.
Silver Spring. The whole Silver Spring area is invited to the Shields home for the Siyum Be'ezer Hashem. Okay. Details to follow, Rabbi Isai. We're going to give out details without being too specific, so you don't get bombarded by. But people will be in touch with you. Be'ezer Hashem Yisbarach.
Good night.
Good day. Good night.
The Flatbush Borough Park Museum, they're having even a women's section.
No way.